days, whenever I see a needle in the hands of an unlicensed auxiliary, I see a weapon. Greetings, everyone. Mohbad didn't die because of a curse. He died because of a medical misadventure that happened every day in the streets of Lagos. Let me tell you this. Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad, was not just an artist. He was a symbol of the struggle of the average Nigerian youth.
Quasar.
But beyond the music and beyond the controversy, there is a forensic lesson that every Nigerian needs to learn. Mohbad did not die on a grand stage. He died in a room after a treatment that should have happened in a hospital. So this is an exposition on how an unskilled hand, in this case of a street nurse, an auxiliary, and a needle, can become a lethal weapon. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind where the Lagos humidity hangs heavy over the lagoon. A young man, barely 25, he walked into the pharmacy. He was dressed in an expensive streetwear, this kind of wear you see on the big boys and the club in Victoria Island. He was looking exhausted, his eyes bloodshot, clutching his side. He whispered, like, he came close to me, he whispered, while laying over the counter, I need ceftriaxone injection, diclofenac injection, and 1 ampoule of Funejan. I looked at him. These are not drugs you just buy like a bottle of soda. I asked for his prescription. He was like, I beg fashi that. He waved his hand dismissively. Then he said, my nurse is waiting in the car. She is an auxiliary, but she's very good. She treats all the guys in our record label. We don't have time for the long queues at the general hospital. Interesting. I looked out. I peered through the window. Yeah, I saw a tinted SUV. Sat a woman with a small cooler and a bag of syringes. My heart sank. Like, damn. This wasn't a medical team. This was a mobile execution squad. I'm sorry to say that, but this was a mobile execution squad disguised as a quick fix. Honestly, I had to refuse. I refused sanctioning the sale. I told him, if I give you this and she mixes them in one syringe, which is a common practice for quacks, these drugs might clash and form tiny crystals in your blood. Or worse, if your body reacts to the ceftriaxone, that woman in the car has no adrenaline to save you. She has no adrenaline to save you. You will pass away in the back seat of that XUV before you reach the 3rd Mainland Bridge. Visibly, he was angry, he was frustrated, he called me too formal, he left, and probably he found another shop that cared more about the money than his life. 2 days later, I heard news of a sudden death of a rising star's assistant. Yeah, I heard the news of a sudden death of a rising star's assistant in the nearby estate. I don't know if that was him for sure, but the pattern was identical. Furthermore, in the case of Mohbad, reports suggest that on 12th September 2023, Mohbad was feeling unwell. He complained of an ear infection and general body pain. In many parts of Nigeria, the first instinct is not to drive to a general hospital or a registered pharmacy. Instead, people call a nurse to come to the house. In this case, an auxiliary nurse was brought in. An auxiliary nurse is someone who may have assisted in a clinic but does not have the professional license or the full training of a registered nurse. Does not have the full training of a registered nurse. Drug mechanisms, contraindications, clinical notes and warnings, they lack it. They just tell you, take this, you'll be fine, take this, you'll be fine. But what of the drug mechanism of action of drugs, the clinical notes and warning, the indications? common allergy, drug reaction, polypharmacy. These are little nitty-gritties. So this street nurse reportedly administered 3 different injections to Mohbad. Shortly after these injections were given, his condition worsened rapidly. He began to vomit and eventually lost consciousness. Unfortunately, he joined the Eternal shortly after. To understand something, to understand why Mohbad died, we must look at the drugs likely involved and the environment in which they were given. Forensic reports, the autopsy, points toward a cocktail of an antibiotic and a sedative or antihistamine, such as promethazine. Promethazine is an antihistamine often used to treat nausea or as a mild sedative. Ceftriaxone is often given for infections. Then the syringe, which is the tool that was used to bypass the body's natural defenses. The syringe, the ceftriaxone or any other similar antibiotic, and promethazine, these are likely the 3 drugs that the street nurse, the quack, administered. So, think of your body as a high security bank. When you swallow a pill, it has to go through the security gate of the stomach and the liver. These organs break down the drug and release it slowly. However, when you give an injection, you are jumping over the fence and landing right inside the vault. If the person giving the injection is not trained, they might hit a vein instead of a muscle. They might hit a vein instead of a muscle. They might give a drug that the patient is allergic to. When a foreign chemical like an antibiotic or a sedative like promethazine enters the body system of someone who is allergic to it, the immune system panics. To create a balance, the immune system will release a flood of antihistamines to be able to neutralize the effect of that foreign chemical substance. This causes the blood vessels to widen suddenly, which is vasodilation, and the blood pressure, as a result of the widening, the blood pressure automatically drops to 0. The throat begins to swell. It starts to get bigger, it enlarges, which is laryngeal edema. The person can no longer get air into their lungs.
Quasar.
This is anaphylactic shock. In a hospital, a doctor has epinephrine adrenaline to restart the heart and open the airways. In a bedroom, there is nothing. The street nurse has no equipment to handle a reaction. By the time the patient reaches a clinic, they are often DID. They are brought in dead. One of the biggest issues in the Mohbad case was the delay. He was buried quickly and then exhumed, dug up weeks later for an autopsy. In forensics, time is the enemy. As soon as the person dies, the body begins to break down. Bacteria begin to eat the tissues. The process produces its own chemicals, which can hide the drugs that were actually there. For example, certain drugs disappear from the blood within hours. If you wait weeks to perform an autopsy, the toxicology report might come out as inconclusive. In the case of Mohbad, Imole, this does not mean the drugs were not there. It means the evidence has been erased by time. This case ties directly into what I see every day in the pharmacy. People are obsessed with strong injections. They believe that a pill is too slow. They want the vault opened immediately. I have met many Mohbads in my career, young men who are stressed and overworked, who call a pack to give them a boost or a painkiller injection so they can get back to work or to the studio. They do not realize that every time they allow an unlicensed person to put a needle in their arm, they are playing Russian roulette with their life. Mohbad was a victim of a system where shortcuts are the norm. He was a victim of the belief that you can treat a serious infection in the bedroom. So, people should know that his death was a systemic failure. It was a failure of regulation and a failure of health education. If he had been taken to a standard hospital the moment he felt ill, he might be alive today to sing for us. The nurse was not a hero trying to save him. She was a practitioner operating outside the law and outside the bounds of safety. As an educator, I'm begging you to please stop calling home nurses for injections. An injection is a minor surgery. It requires a sterile environment and a professional who knows how to handle a worst case scenario. If you have an ear infection or a fever, go to a registered pharmacy or a clinic. Do not let someone mix 3 different drugs in one syringe and inject them into your body. You do not know if these drugs are compatible. You do not know if your heart can take the shock. Imole is gone, but his light can still save others. Let his story be the reason you throw away home pharmacy mindset. Let his story be the reason you value a hospital visit over a quick fix from a neighbor. Medicine is not just about what is in the bottle. It is about the hands that hold the needle and the knowledge behind the dose. Respect the dose. Protect life. One more thing, remember, if you do not respect the chemistry of the body will eventually stop responding to the chemistry of life. Thank you.